Hey Barbie. Hi Barbie. Hi Ken. Hi Ken. Hello and welcome back to another Popcorn Chat. I hope you guys are doing well. In this video, I'm speaking to you about one of the most anticipated films of the year, and that is Barbie. As a big fan of Greta Gerwig's previous work, including Lady Bird and Little Women, I was really excited to see what she was going to do with the IP of Barbie. So let's talk about what worked for me. The whole set design of Barbie Land was amazing. It was so colourful and vibrant and so playful. I loved it, and it was really sort of contrasted with when we go into the real world. It very much juxtaposed each other, but that set design was excellent and really helped to sort of submerge you within the world of these toys. Throughout the course of the film, I had a smile from ear to ear and was absolutely enjoying every moment. There were laugh out loud moments throughout the film, and if I wasn't laughing, I was probably crying. There's a very early moment on in the film where you see this series of dolls and their different job roles, and I just got really emotional in that and turned to my friend. I was like, I'm crying already. And they were sort of happy tears. And then there's some moments that are later on in the film which, you know, were a lot more sentimental, that had me crying, and I'm sure lots of other people were crying in the screening as well. Just to add to that, I didn't realise how emotional and heartfelt this film was going to be, but I think it was necessary for the character of Barbie and America Ferrera's character. I think there's some really sort of essential points that needed to be a bit more dramatic, a bit more emotional, and, you know, allowed these people to connect over the sort of influx of emotions going on. The majority of this film, though, was a comedy, and everyone did an excellent job, from, you know, Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, our two leads, to the side characters, you know, the other Barbies, the other Kens, background characters, just those little facial expressions and, you know, performances that really sort of added to this very sort of campy and colourful world. And that transferred also when you go into the real world and you have Will Ferrell and his sort of posse of, you know, little minions at Mattel. Everyone then sort of plays their role, and it really works as a whole kind of holistic approach for Greta Gerwig's vision. Though this is a Barbie film, which is obviously a toy, and that in itself is aimed at children, this film very much felt like it was targeted towards 20, 30-year-olds, or even parents specifically, who may have taken their child because they could have, it was a 12A, or they could have just gone by themselves, like myself, you know, went with a friend. I think it's more targeted towards older people due to the reflection upon play and how we sort of have changed as people as we grow and enter the working world, and our sort of dynamic and relationships with our family, our children, people around us as a whole. I think it's very much speaks to adults much more than kids, but for me that worked. When I realised how much this was targeted towards adults and had those more sentimental moments, it really reminded me of the Lego movie, which is, you know, very much one film up, you know, 3/4 in, and then it changes and we have this cut into the real life where it's about adult playing, and, you know, it's Will Ferrell as well. So it's that angle of, you know, play isn't just for kids, and do you really grow up and, you know, stop loving, you know, the toys that you play with are the Barbies or Legos. So I liked that, and I liked how that was very similar to the Lego movie. I think that's the way to go with a specific toy IP and making it much more relatable to the average person. Prior to this film coming out, there was a release of the soundtrack and who was going to be featuring on it. You had great artists such as Lizzo, Haim, Tame Impala, Nicki Minaj. Like, there's such great artists on this. And what I was surprised about was how they really well sort of integrated those songs into what was happening on screen. You know, we have Lizzo's song played twice. So we have a setup of a typical day for Barbie, and the song, you know, works perfectly for her day. And then we have those changes to her daily routine, which are then reflected upon Lizzo's song. So it all really worked, and I think, you know, the titles and the language and the bespoke music for this film by such familiar artists, you know, that make great pop music and are always in the charts, really sort of help to add a lot of sort of character. It added to the sort of candy-like kind of world which Barbie lives in, and it was just such a great addition to a film, and I've just been listening to the soundtrack constantly since seeing this film. Just in addition to my point about the comedy in this film, I do think our two leads, Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, both do a great job. There's a lot of people saying how they prefer Ryan Gosling in this. I do see where they're coming from. He has equal room to breathe and play with his sort of performance in this, and I do think his comedic timing is excellent, and he really plays the role of Ken, and you can see him just having fun on set, and I love that. And Margot Robbie also does a great job. I think she is able to have much more of a variety in her performance. She's emotional, she's funny, she's dramatic. She has much more of a range, where I would say Ryan Gosling just pretty much plays the comedy guy, but he is excellent at that as well. Margot Robbie is also good at her comedy. There's a moment where she sort of literally sits like a doll and sort of, face plants the floor, and that was excellent. It had a lot of people laughing in the cinema. Saying that, there's a few tiny little things that didn't work for me so well. One of them being the fact sort of Will Ferrell's posse and the sort of, the villains of the film, and they're trying to sort of get Barbie back in the box and stop this sort of crossover of worlds, from going any further. However, I feel like they are very much forgotten in that third act. They are chasing Barbie to Barbie Land, and then we don't see them for a while, and they just turn up in the last 5 minutes. I think they could have been written a little bit better in that story and become a bit more of an antagonistic kind of role, but I think they're just forgotten about, and I don't know what I would have wanted to see from them, but I would have liked either more involvement or no involvement. I guess the other thing you could say is the fact that the concept isn't necessarily anything new. There's many films where we see a setup of a character's world and them leaving that world in whatever capacity that could be in order to find something out about themselves. That's a basic story trope we've seen, time and time again. I think what they do with it, and I had no idea the sort of connection with the sort of human world. I didn't know that was going to be a part of it from the trailer. So I do think it does some things different, but I think the setup in itself is maybe a little familiar, but that's me being very, very picky about this film. The whole self-awareness with this film and the brand of Mattel was a really bold move, and I think it really pays off in this kind of satirical nature of the film. I think they are able to get away with it, and I think it works by being self-referential, and that means you can sort of progress and say, hang on, I don't think these things are aligned with a lot of people's views and how it is today. And that's the only way which, brands like this can grow and develop and sort of take a step back and see what can we do better to include more people within this world. One of the things I really loved was how diverse the cast was, whatever capacity that may be. You have different races, different abilities. It was just a matter of fact of this world, and it wasn't even mentioned. And I loved that this was just how they were. And I really hope, the little children that were in my screening, maybe saw representation of themselves in various ways on screen. And I just loved how it was part of it, and I would like to see more of that in films, please. I do think the themes and the messaging worked really well for me, and it balanced that sort of line of comedy and drama in order to create that impact. I understand that some of the commentary on feminism could have been a little bit surface level and explored more, but I think with a 12A rating and still having that sort of younger audience, you do have to appeal to both and sort of that entry level into maybe opening up your horizon upon, societal change, and I think it handles it well. If there's anything to take away from this film, it's be more Alan. So I'm giving Barbie 5 out of 5 stars. If you've seen Barbie, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys very soon for another popcorn chat.